Please avoid.
You can understand it's not been an easy morning and afternoon. I'll start with introductions. My name is Chair of Multiples to Multiple Society. On my left is Dr. Kalebi, who's the director and founder of Lancet Laboratories. And then we have Ms. Penina, who will be speaking on behalf of the family. So, as a society, we learnt about the story through the media, and thank you for exposing that. But I want to put a disclaimer that the media has not really handled this story very well, and it is unfortunate, and we want to appeal to you that these girls are still in school. The family still deserves a right to their privacy, so we would want to appeal to you to handle this story with the sensitivity that it deserves. As a society, we help cases of families that require our support. These are families who have twins, triplets, and quadruplets. And so we reached out to the family to offer the support that they needed. And at that time, they were querying the parentage, because the two girls found each other through social media, and they wanted to know about their parentage. So we came in to support in that. So the reason we are here is that the results came out some time back, but since the girls are still in school, we advised the family that it would be good to have these results released when they were on midterm, and then from there, then they proceed with their education. So the results were released to them this morning, and I will hand over to Dr. Ahmed Kalebi, who's the pathologist and whose laboratory undertook these results. I think there were questions about the offer that had been made by Kemri to perform DNA results, but at the time when we interacted with them, there were a bit of complications because Kemri required a DCI report, and we felt the mental state of the family at that time required the DNA results to be performed immediately, which is why we chose the reputable institution of Lancet Pathologist Kenya. So we are going to handle this press in this way. We will have the pathologist share the summary of the results, and you can ask him the technical side of things.
So, as Dr. Wala has said, we actually had the results out within 2 weeks, but we did not release it to anyone, not even to Dr. Wala herself, because I knew she'll be under pressure from you guys. Normally what happens with DNA tests, and I'll explain briefly sort of a background. Most of the time we do paternity tests. Most people know about paternity tests, and paternity test is where you're trying to establish whether a man is the father to a particular alleged child. And in most cases then we'll take the DNA profile of the mother, and when we talk about profiling, we are looking at specific regions inside the DNA, and those regions which look at differences or similarities between people. As you guys all know, a child gets their DNA from the mother and the father, half-half, and for you to be able to say that's the child of a particular person, a mother or a father, it means they must have at least half of that person's DNA matching with theirs. So basically we're looking at the DNA profile of one individual and matching it to somebody else who is said to be the parent to that person. So that is usually the DNA paternity for fatherhood. But we can also do what we call DNA maternity to determine whether somebody is a mother, and we can do DNA kinship studies to determine whether two individuals are related. So Dr. Wala reached out to me, I think it was on a Saturday. Obviously we are a private lab, and we can't do things necessarily for free unless it's a CSR, of which this one was not quite a CSR in my view. So they had to go raise money, but we did the analysis anyway, even as they were raising the money. The samples, I have a summary for you guys, which I'll share with you. So the samples are collected on the 19th of April 2019, there is a very rigorous process by which we collect samples, making sure what we call chain of custody evidence is maintained, because our results are actually used even in courts of law, and they're used by the police, by the Criminal Investigation Authority, and so on and so forth. In fact, a lot of the times we even get cases done by the government chemist, and the court can order that we repeat them. So we had to go through that step. It required a bit of counseling to the girls at that time to inform them about that. And actually this morning we spent almost 2 hours just discussing the technicalities, because they are bright girls, they are in school, they are all doing biology. So I had to explain to them about how you're doing this. So samples are collected from Sharon, who's one of the girls, Melon and Mavis, the 3 girls, then from Rosemary, one of the mothers, Angeline, one of the other mothers, and Wilson. Richard, who is the other father, was not available at that time, but we don't need all the samples, because in this case, what we are trying to answer is, of course, are these 2 girls identical twins, number one, and who is their parents, because the whole story is that they were switched at birth. Of course, the other thing we tried to also establish is who is the mother to whom. And as I told them right from the beginning, DNA results have basically virtually 100% accuracy. You're looking at 99.9999% when you say somebody matches somebody else, and you're looking at, if it is excluding, it means it's 100%. You are not the parent to that person or related. So the analysis was completed in early May, but we withheld it until when we thought the girls were available with all the family. As you know, they had to get well-wishers who could mobilize them to come from Western to come here, because the majority are from there. Is Sharon, who is from Nairobi, but also Hash was in school. So I'll just read out for your purposes, because it's exactly how I'm going to share it with you. So the results of the DNA profile analysis indicate the following. Sharon Mitekwa and Melon Lutenyo, the 2 girls who are seen to be identical, share identical DNA profile with 23 allelic loci, showing 100% perfect match, which is consistent with the 2 being biologically identical twins. So virtually, basically, we have confirmed that they are identical twins, and that is basically with the DNA test that we did. As you know, people can look very similar, but they might not be identical, they might not actually be related. While people might look dissimilar, yet they're actually related. And the purpose of the DNA test is to do that. And when I mentioned 23 alleles, we look at 23 different regions of the DNA, and in those 23 different regions, they matched 100%. Usually for criminal cases, we just require 13 regions. We usually test 13 or 17 in other labs, but in our lab, we test in 23 different places. And if you have a mismatch of more than 2, it basically excludes any relationship. In this case, they are basically copy and paste, cut completely identical DNA-wise, and of course you can see the same physically. The next part is that Rosemary Havaleli Onyango, who is the lady sitting behind here, cannot be excluded as the biological mother of Sharon Mitekwa and Melon Lutenyo. So she is the mother to the twins. So Rosemary is the mother to the twins. Thirdly, Rosemary herself is excluded from being the biological mother of Melvis, who is sitting in between, of Mavis. So Rosemary is not the mother to Mavis, so they couldn't have been triplets, like identical twins, and one. So she is not the daughter to Rosemary, and she is not their sister. So the 2 identical sisters, twins, and Rosemary is not the mother. Number 4, Angeline Omina Matias, who is right there behind, is excluded from being the biological mother of Sharon, who she has been raising, because they have a mismatch of more than 13 different loci. And we also excluded Wilson Luther as the father to Sharon. So Angeline and Wilson Luther are not the parents to Sharon. Obviously, you can derive that because Sharon is the identical twin to Melon. Number 5, last but not least, is that Mavis is showing obligatory maternal and paternal allelic profile with Angeline Omina and Wilson. So she shows exact match for the 2 parents. So the 2 are her parents, Wilson and Angeline. So in summary, as I told the girls, they have an extended, a new family of each other now. I mean, they already had that from all the interactions they have gone through, but biologically, we can confirm that the two are identical twins and they're the children to Rosemary. I couldn't comment on Richard because we did not do any tests on Richard. I'm talking from a biological perspective. And we can confirm that Mavis is the biological biological daughter to Angeline and Wilson, who have not been raising her all these years. And now they have found each other. And last but not least, based on the circumstances that we have been told, it is basically almost definite that this switch occurred at birth. And an interesting narrative I heard from them was actually Mavis and Sharon were both in the hospital for a while. They were sickly in the hospital for a while actually. So all probabilities a switch occurred in the hospital in Kakamega Provincial Hospital then. So those are the results technically, and I'll let you guys ask any questions and direct it to Penina. Penina works with, you can introduce yourself, and she's here giving them the support.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Penina Mwita. I'm the founder of In Talk in Action. In Talk in Action is a mentorship program that empowers youth and teenagers to make sound decisions. Now, I came into Sharon, Melvis, and Melon back in April, where we met, and then we decided to have an interaction. And most of the time, I empowered them because at that particular time is when media houses were calling them right, left, and center. So to avoid that and to protect them, they had to get someone to guide them through. So we came in at that particular moment, and we had a good interaction. I even visited them in Kakamega. And when we were together, I told them a few things, and most of it, I told them to stay away from media, Kwanza, because you know they're candidates, right? So we need them to study and pass their exams. And that was our first priority. And that's why, even when the results came out, we could not bring them to Nairobi because we wanted to shield them from everything that's happening. So we wanted them to study, and when they come for half-term, they'll come to Nairobi and receive their results, and which has happened today. And as you can see, we are all very strong. They are strong girls, and they have been cancelled of what will happen. Whichever way the results come out, they are ready to take it as it is. And I believe that these results will not separate us and will not cause a division in the families. And these results, they're going to build a more strong bond between the two families, and we are going to stick together. I know right now there's so much to digest because they're just teenagers, right? So we'll give them time, we'll give them peace of mind, we digest all the information that we've been given. As the doctor has said here, we've had so much information since morning, and we cannot absorb the information within maybe 2 hours. So they need time to digest, to recollect, to reflect, you know. But at the end of the day, we say we are two families that have become one. So we are not having parents were nani, no. All of them are our parents. We've accepted the results, and we'll move on. That's all I can say for the girls. Thank you.
That's the general principle, although the standard is 10 to 15 years. Depending on the institutions. Most of the time it's between 10 to 15 years, but in most instances the records should be kept indefinitely. So records of the nursery, records of the labor ward, ideally should still be available. About the legal implication, of course, yes. I mean, this is a matter that is for police investigations, and that's why I think even Kemri couldn't do the test initially, because they're waiting for the DCI. For us, we are able to do the test based on request, because we either do cases because of legal, it's a court order, or sometimes people want to know because it's a peace of mind request. So this is one of those instances where we say DNA analysis for peace of mind to answer questions. So I suspect, hopefully there's an element of peace of mind because we are not like this in the morning. Right now we are much better off, all of us. So I'm happy to at least see the happy faces there's definitely a peace of mind, but there are a lot of unanswered questions, as you can imagine, for the parents, for the girls, and definitely there has to be questions to, at the end of the hospital, and the rest depends now on the police, whether they want to investigate this. But usually for the police, of course, there has to be a complainant. So I don't know whether someone is going to complain from the family or from multiple society. Secondly is the family themselves, what they want to do about it. But definitely there's an element of, not an element, there is definitely negligence in this, and that shocks me a bit. It's probably the 4th case we have had, the rest have not been in the public, of confirmed DNA showing switch at birth. But now it's up to the parties concerned. Ours is to give the results, and they deal with the results. Yeah.
I think that we've had a discussion as a society with the family, and they would want to pursue legal redress, and the society is willing to support them in that cause. So we shall be chatting a way forward with them, most likely next week. Yep.
Just wanted to add one thing. I mean, and this is not from a result perspective, but I've interacted with Dr. Wala and the team. I mean, don't be fooled by the happy, calm demeanor of everybody here. I mean, it's definitely a difficult thing for them. It's something they have to digest over weeks and months and probably the rest of their lives. So we've done a lot this morning to try and digest, but the guys need space, the guys need understanding, and that's why we said as much as possible we'd like to finish all questions asked here. Nobody should be followed up. When you get out of here, you can understand it could easily have been one of you guys. And as I said, it concerns me a lot because you do get cases where people do paternity tests, but you only test the father and the child. When it's not the father, but you're not tested the mother, you might not know these kind of things can occur. Yeah. It raises a lot of questions as a society, not as multiple society, but for us as a Kenyan society, some of these things can happen. And it was fortuitous that they met through social media. So you can imagine how many other people don't know about this kind of things that have gone on to them.
These results are not going to separate us. And as we've also heard, the results, we need time to digest. We need time to sit down, reflect on all implications. So as at now, we've not made any decisions as to what will happen next, because we know we are still family. So that one we've not even looked at.
And matching, or looking at comparing the two to see whether they're matching or not. The average cost per person, per individual being analyzed, ranges from 10,000 to 20,000. I think in the government chemist, obviously it's free because of the, if it is a legal case, if it's a court-ordered case, or it's a criminal investigation. But if it is requested by an individual, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Kemri and government chemists, they are probably anything between 8,000 and 10,000 per individual, which means multiple individuals you multiply. So if it's 3 individuals times 3, like that. Yeah. Paternity test costs in the market anything between 15. As I said when I started, mainly from our paternity testing. Man, no, this is our child. They had no doubt. Maybe they're migrating to Canada or Australia, so they came here to do paternity testing because of the requirement for immigration. Only to be shocked that it's not their child. And you would have sworn that, and later when we investigated, you find out actually they're not related. So phenotype, what's the outward appearance, is not usually accurate, and that's why we don't even consider it. Ile maneno ya masikio imekaa kama nani, pua imekaa kama nani, rangi yake, those things don't apply. It's almost basically like a toss of coin, 50-50. I can tell you, it's almost like a 50% chance that you got it right. So, are you the child of your father? Without testing, I can say 50%. If I did a blood group, maybe I can increase that to 70-80%. But you can't be definite unless you do a DNA test. Now, how many cases do we do DNA tests and the person doesn't look like the person whom we are saying they are related to? We see so many. So many. I mean, it happens almost every day. Guys like you walk here and they say, this is not my child, and when you do the test, it's their child. because unaona hapana, hakuna kitu hata moja imefanana. So phenotype is not reliable. Genotyping is reliable. Yeah.